Hi, I'm Andy Cummings with AWS Training and Certification. Welcome to an introduction to AWS CloudFormation. I've been with AWS for going on a year and a half now, and I'm currently responsible for delivering live training events to AWS customers across North America. In this video, we will introduce AWS CloudFormation. We're going to go through an overview and potential use cases of the service, and then walk through a demonstration to see the service in action. So what is CloudFormation? So CloudFormation simplifies the task of repeatedly and predictably creating groups of related resources that power your applications. Note those keywords in there. Simplifies, repeatedly, and predictably. CloudFormation is all about automating resource provisioning. So how do we interact with AWS services? We call application programming interfaces, or APIs, to tell the services what to do. There are three methods for calling APIs: the AWS Management Console, the AWS Command Line Interface, or CLI, and using the language-specific software development kits or direct API calls. Using one of the three methods, we can construct virtual environments for our workloads. We use API calls such as create VPC to construct a virtual private cloud, or launch instances to create a new EC2 instance. In this example, we have an application running on an EC2 instance in a single subnet within a VPC. The application calls a DynamoDB table and uses an S3 bucket. So how can we automate this process, or how can I duplicate this environment? More specifically, how can I automate the provisioning of AWS resources? Although there are several different tools you can use for automation, CloudFormation is essential to understand because of its powerful reach into so many AWS services. So what does CloudFormation do? First, it's a fully managed service, so there's no infrastructure to support. CloudFormation can create, update, and delete resources in sets known as stacks. Let's get an overview of the service and discuss some potential use cases. The big picture process for CloudFormation is really simple. CloudFormation reads template files. What's a template file? Well, that's the instructions on what resources to actually go ahead and provision. CloudFormation constructs the resources listed in the template file, and the output of this process is your environment, which is known as a stack. You can create a template that creates a single resource stack or a stack with hundreds of resources. How do you control CloudFormation? Well, we're back to our three main interfaces: the AWS Management Console, the CLI or SDK API calls. This means that you can interact with the service through the Management Console or build scripts to automate CloudFormation actions. So let's talk a little bit more about stacks. Stacks are the resources generated by a template, but they're also a unit of deployment. You can create stacks, make updates by rerunning a modified template, and even delete stacks. When you delete a stack, by default, all of the resources in the stack are deleted. Remember, it's a unit of deployment. Most organizations modularize stacks by creating separate templates for networking, security, and applications. Okay, let's take a closer look at templates. Templates describe the resources to provision. These are text files written in JSON or YAML format. As an added benefit, if you provision your environment using templates, then your templates become a form of documentation for your environment. So what's in a template file? Well, it's the same information that you would specify if you built the environment manually through the console. There's no mystery here. The template does use specific formatting constructs, but the resource and property information is the same. One nice benefit of CloudFormation is that you don't have to list your resources in the template in the exact order of creation. We can use the depends on attribute to control the order CloudFormation will create the resources, so we can build a sequence of events like when a database server needs to be created before a web server can be created. Is a template only good for creating a single environment? If you add parameters and conditions to your template, you can use the same template to create different environments. Parameters are variables in a template. When you run the template through CloudFormation, you must fill in the parameters. This means that if you select parameter 1, you can generate the development stack, and parameter 2 will generate the production stack. This makes your template more flexible and functional. What happens to all these templates you create? Each template is an example of infrastructure as code, which simply means you control your infrastructure through software code. Software, like templates, is flexible. You can change it. You can also keep different versions of the same template. This is exactly what developers do with source code for applications, and that's exactly how you want to treat your templates. Organizations that rely on CloudFormation build out template libraries much as they do code repositories for applications. There are two critical requirements for running CloudFormation. The first, templates, we've already discussed. If the template has an error, by default, CloudFormation will stop processing and roll back any objects already created from the template. The second requirement to run CloudFormation is whoever is calling the template to be processed must have permissions to all the services referenced in the template. You can also control who has the ability to even process a template through CloudFormation. Okay, let's do a brief demo with CloudFormation so you can see this for yourself. We're going to use CloudFormation Designer, which is part of the CloudFormation service. CloudFormation Designer is a great tool to get started with if you don't have a lot of experience working with JSON or YAML formats. The tool will build the guts of our template using a drag and drop interface. We're going to create a new template that will generate a VPC resource. We'll add in a resource property, then create a stack using the template, and finish up by viewing the newly created VPC. So the first thing we'll do is we're going to open up CloudFormation by way of the management console. So I'm going into my services, type in CloudFormation, find CloudFormation. Okay, now once we're inside, we're going to choose to go ahead and create a brand new stack. So I'm going to choose the Create New Stack button right here. Now you can load up templates that you already have, or you can design from scratch. We're going to go ahead and choose Design Template. That's going to take us into the CloudFormation Designer. Now the interface for the CloudFormation Designer is set up so at the top of the screen on the left-hand side we have a listing of our resource types, and we drag those over onto the template area here, the grid on the top. That's actually going to start to build out our parameters for the template. So let's go over and we're going to go over to EC2, and VPC is actually part of EC2. You would think it would be under networking, but because EC2 resources must go into VPC, that's why these are tied together. I'm going to drag the VPC out into the grid area here. Now you can see what happened just down below on the screen here. It's actually building out the template here. So that is a logical representation of a VPC inside this grid up top. Now down below, what we're really interested in is the template. And as you can see down below, it actually created a resource entry inside the template. It's specifying specifically that it's going to be a VPC down below, and we need to fill in some properties. So now when we go to create a VPC, the only properties that are actually required are the name of the VPC, which you already have in here, and we're going to add in the CIDR block, which is the network address here. So I'm going to go ahead and we're going to add that together. I'm going to do my Control-Shift. That's actually going to pull up a list of the properties to actually choose from for this particular object, and then we'll go ahead and choose CIDR block. I'm going to add in a colon, followed by, in parentheses, the data we need, 10.0.0.0/16, and we are set and ready to go. So what we now have is we have the basics for a template here to go ahead and create one resource. Now where we're going to go with this, I'm going to go to the upper left here, and we'll say that we want to create the stack. Now as soon as we do this, it'll come back and say, okay, this is back to the screen that we were on before. Now we've already designed the template. The template that we just created was automatically added to an S3 bucket for us, and it's all set and ready to go. So we'll just go ahead and say next here. We're going to put a name on our stack. Let's call this VPC2. Give it a next. All right, now we can add additional tags inside also, and then you can also specify the role as necessary if someone does not have the appropriate permissions over here. We're going to click on through that so we can see our end result. There's a summary to review, and we'll finish up with the create statement. All right, now it doesn't look like a heck of a lot's going on over here, but what we're going to do is then we will swing back to our stacks. Okay, so as we can see, the creation of the stack is complete. Our VPC has been run on through, and what we can actually see here, we're still in CloudFormation. Let's skip over in our services real quick. We'll go on over to VPC. And we just want to clarify that we can see the VPC that was actually created. So we'll go on and take a look at the VPCs. And the second VPC on the list, the first one is our default for the region right down below. And the second one, as you can see, there's our 10.00/16, and we've got a new VPC. Okay, so let's summarize what we've learned. AWS CloudFormation is a fully managed service which acts as an engine to automate the provisioning of AWS resources. CloudFormation reads template files which specify the resources to deploy. Provisioned resources are known as the stack. Stacks can be created, updated, or deleted through CloudFormation.